I do. Okay. Or just bring a bucket and I'll fill it for you.
Right, you go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the December meeting for Murrumbidgee Council. Welcome to the councillors that are here, and welcome to our operational staff that are joining us here today. We respectfully acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the lands and waters of Murrumbidgee local government area and to all Aboriginal elders past and present and emerging. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, and to ensure this meeting is open to the public, this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Murrumbidgee Council Facebook page. A recording will also be placed on Council's website following this meeting. Okay, I call for some apologies, please.
We've received apologies from Councillor Strawn and Councillor Curfew.
Are there any further apologies? If not, would somebody like to move that these apologies be accepted? Move Councillor Churchman, seconded Councillor Saxby. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. We'll move to the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 22nd of November 2022. Would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Bryce, seconded Councillor Major. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. I'll remind you all of your pecuniary interest declarations. Are there any declarations that need to be brought forward, or does anybody else have anything that they think they might need to identify?
I may have a pecuniary declaration. I don't know yet.
Right, well, Councillor Black, you keep that in mind, okay? There are no notices of rescission, no notices of motion, no delegates' reports. We'll move to the mayoral report. It's been a very short time between meetings, so this report was not large. Are there any questions regarding my report as tabled? Councillor Churgwin.
I just want to know how you went with the Darlington Point Early Learning Centre meeting.
Would Gary or John please like to report on the Early Learning Centre meeting?
Certainly. Through you, Madam Mayor, it was quite a good roll-up. Councillor Saxby, Gilbert and Black were attended. We were able, at the end of the day, we were able to form a committee. I think there were roughly 20 people there. Formed a committee, I think 9 people put their names forward. So we'll be meeting with them probably at the end of January next year to start planning.
Excellent. Okay, would Councillor Saxby or Councillor Gilbert like to make any comments regarding just your take on the meeting?
No, it went well. There was a lot of questions that were asked and how it was going to progress.
Yep.
Yeah, no one was really hesitant on putting their hand up to become a part of the committee, so yeah, it went well.
Okay, so from the information that Gary's just given us and Gavin, there'll be a meeting convened at the end of January, and a way forward will be plotted then. Okay, so that was very, very reassuring that they had that community number roll up and clearly identifies and supports the fact that there is this need in Darlington Point and Collyambley, but Darlington Point particularly from this meeting. So well done, and thank you for the council representation at it. So let's hope that that's a very positive move into the future. The General Manager and I attended a meeting in Albury last week. Was it last week or the week before with the Planning Minister? John, would you like to report back on that, please?
We brought up a number of items from our biodiversity constraints that affect the growth of subdivisions in rural and regional Australia in particular, or New South Wales, I should say, to just some of those little niggling ones that we've always been trying to advocate for, geographical names of postage areas of some people still sitting in Denny that are actually in Jerilderie postcodes and things like that, to other other items of just the how long it's been taking for the integrated water cycle management plan to be delivered when we commenced it close to 4 years ago. An 18-month job, still not done. He's the minister responsible for Public Works Advisory, so we gave him that information in relation to that. We also spoke about the planning portal and some of the issues that we are facing with the planning portal, and just virtually said that we're thankful for all the money they're throwing at it to try and get the planning portal up and running, but originally it was probably designed and worked really well for the way the state wanted it to work for the state's purposes, but it didn't translate to anything of how it rolls out to the 128 local governments and how they're meant to, or even the mums and dads and the developers to put up in relation to their DAs. So it was quite a good. There was meant to be 4 councils there, 2 pulled out at the last minute, so it was only a representation of Federation Council and Murrumbidgee Council there for the 45 minutes. So we got every bit of our items that we had across the table, and even some. He's the minister for the land, housing. So that means all of the state government housing. So the land that we're trying to acquire off the police at Collyambley, there's 2 lots there that we could probably fill in. We brought that up to him, and that got immediate attention and got to the right person virtually before we even left that meeting. He was ringing me to get those sort of things. So it was very well worth the day, you might as well say, to go down to Albury to meet and come back again. And of course, you have to have lunch and things like that, so it just takes the whole day. So well worth it.
I do have to say that the minister's, is she PA?
Oh,
EA,
maybe chief of staff or something.
chief
like that.
something, did commend our council and spoke to me about how well prepared our delegation was. And it makes a huge difference if you get into a meeting and you have a brief which you can actually hand to the minister, but then you actually get the opportunity to speak to it. And as Ellen has already stated, there were 4 councils originally, but brought back to 2. So we had plenty of opportunity to speak to the issues that we had prepared in the brief. So that's encouraging. And if you're going to go and to get in front of a minister, you actually have to know what you're talking about. And that was very well handled by our general manager and Julie to have the prep done adequately. John also mentioned that we did have lunch afterwards with Federation and the executive officer from Ramjo, Nicola Gleeson, who has since tendered her resignation. So not because we had lunch with her, but because she's moving on for family reasons. So it was nice to have that opportunity to engage with her and thank her for the amazing job she has done with fairly significant restraints over the time. So it was time well invested. We've also attended a Ramjo board meeting and we've had briefings with the Murrumbidgee Local Health District Chief Executive Officer. So there's been lots of meetings happening in this space, lots of which are still on Zoom, but speaking very clearly to the floods, the flood recovery issues, New South Wales resilience, the Japanese encephalitis and the re-emergence of COVID. So while it's only been a short time frame, it has been very busy. We've had the commencement of our schools presentation evenings, and I'd like to thank Christine for attending St Peter's presentation last night in Collyambley and the Darlington Point Public School presentation the night before. Yeah. So thank you very much for doing that, Christine. It's really important and it's an absolute privilege to be invited into schools for their presentation nights, and I think it's really important that Council has somebody at those functions, so thank you very much for doing that. And that's about all. I did allude to the rain has stopped, thank God, but it's really bizarre world we live in because now it's actually dry. You know, people are looking to start watering, which is beggars belief, really, but that's just the reality of where we live. So it is very heartwarming to see some harvesting going on, some headers going on. There's lots of dust now circulating in the And while perhaps the impact will be significant on what is produced, it is encouraging to know that there is at least some product coming off. Are there any further questions of my report? If not, would somebody like to move, please? Move, Councillor Gilbert, seconded Councillor Saxby. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, please.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Just a few short items in relation to my report. The first one is the 3 streams curbside collection. We're just finalising costs to be able to of the processing and so with of the recycling and the food organics, garden organics materials. So we'll have some pricing available for early in February for council to endorse. Just one of the things, it's more expensive to put waste into landfill than it is to get them recycled or for it to get to Wormtech to turn into compost. So we've had to take a very a measured approach, and there'll be particularly in the first year, I'm factoring on that there'll be a lot more waste go to landfill as the education comes in. So the price is going to probably be higher than what it could be if we lived in the ideal world. That's just a reality. We have to recover our costs for operating these services. So if not, you can never guarantee 100%, but if everybody takes up the education and starts putting all the materials in the right bin, then those fees may be able to come down because it won't cost as much to get it processed at the end of the day. We had flood information session in Darlington Point. We got some good information was obtained from residents of Darlington Point. Fairly strong opinion that the topography of the land has changed considerably in the last 10 years or so, which has meant that water is flowing in a different way. We always know that floods never behave exactly the same each year, but some of those things that were mentioned there in relation to the growth in some of the creeks and channels and overflows, as well as some channels and different farming practices that are happening, could have contributed to the inundation that occurred. Because as been mentioned many times, that in 2012 or whenever it was 6.2 metres of water across the Sturt Highway. This year it was over 7 metres before it crossed the Sturt Highway. So things have changed quite dramatically. There's a policy to be adopted. Is the councillor staff interaction policy. Has been to all of the staff have had a chance to comment. The consultative committee also endorsed it this week just gone. So I'll be recommending that revised council and staff interaction policy be adopted. We've been working for a couple of years on the enterprise wide risk matrix. So it's being presented to council for adoption. This is this matrix will be in the hands of the ARIC moving forward, but there'll be regular reports to council in relation to items, particularly the items that are sitting in the high risk area where we haven't met our mitigation to be able to bring them back down to what council's appetite is for those risk areas. So I'll be asking for that to be adopted. By the end of today, I will be on annual leave, and Gary Stoll will be acting General Manager during this period from the 10th of December to the 8th of January. And then, as you see with the movements, it's into 2023. So go figure. It's been a great, funny, ridiculous year that I'm glad will be over. Any questions?
I think Manny said that after last year. 2022 was over. About 2021. Yeah, I do have a question. So just in regards to the flood information session that we had at Darlington Point, what's the next steps with that information we gathered and what sort of?
So yeah, I've got, so we've also met with, the, staff, all staff, since we had that public event. We had all staff in, Darlington Point and Colliamberley come together last week, and we got information from them from the operational point of view. There's been some, requests in there of a business case put forward for pumps and things like that, particularly for Darlington Point. You're already aware of the permanent station that we've got funded, so that will be built, but there will still be a need for some other portable pumps to run around. So we're working on that solution from that, and we also had the same this week with the Jerilderie staff who supported absolutely everything, not only here but also Darlington Point with sandbags and all of those wonderful sorts of things. So we got the feedback from them. Anne has only just compiled the list and sent it through to me at 9:56 this morning. So we'll have that list to be able to review and start working on what we can and what we can't, and tell everybody what we can and what we can't deliver in relation to those things. Is probably the next steps.
Have we got any metering stations on the Wongamong? Because the Wongamong I heard was last one was 1956, and I talked to Chris Baldwin, and he said he surfed down there in 2012, or might have been earlier, 74. I don't know.
I'd like to see that.
But it's interesting that you speak to one person, the Wongamong hasn't flowed since 56, then I hear other people say that the Wongamong has flowed.
It has,
No.
but not nearly to the degree that it has, and it is an unmetered.
That's why I think we should be
Opportunities,
pushing. That's why I should be pushing for a meter station, so we can have records on what it does, so, and flow rates,
Because it does impact the Billabong as well.
Yeah.
it impacts from wherever it starts at Careen,
Yeah.
further back.
Okay. Well, can we include that in the list, John, please?
Yep.
Okay. Any further questions of John's report? Would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Saxic, seconded Councillor Major, and the recommendations will read. That the information contained in the General Manager's monthly report be noted, and 1, the revised council and staff interaction policy be adopted, and 2, the enterprise-wide risk matrix be adopted. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 2, please.
Just a procedural resolution for changes to pecuniary interest that happen to be of myself, of a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of months, just to put it on record. So we've got it there. So the recommendation is just the information contained within the disclosure of pecuniary interest returns by the General Manager be noted, and the disclosure be made publicly available in accordance with legislative requirements.
Okay. Would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Major, seconded Councillor Bryce. Are there any questions? If not, I'll put the recommendation, which will read. The information contained within the disclosure of pecuniary interest returns by the General Manager be noted, and the disclosure be made publicly available in accordance with legislative requirements. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 3, please. 4, sorry.
Item 4 is to do with the review of the communication devices policy and the internet, email and computer use policy. So these were presented to councillors previously at a workshop, and basically we're proposing to combine these into a single policy as part of our review of all policies. There have been some changes to the policy from when it was presented to councillors at the workshop. That's just as a result of having a review underway of our draft IT strategy and our IT cybersecurity framework and a couple of other documents which were in and still are in draft form. There were a couple of items identified within those that we thought were probably better situated as part of this policy that our staff actually give it a copy of and sign off on, because they relate more to how staff use their devices. and how we interact with the network. So we're proposing to put those changes in. They're all listed in the paper. The policy as presented to councillors at workshop has been circulated to all staff previously, and the consultant committee has seen the policy, which includes these changes as well. And we have received the feedback from any of those, so the recommendation is this new compliance policy be adopted.
Okay, would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Churban, second Councillor Gilbert. Are there any questions of Caitlin, please, regarding this policy? No, I think it's pretty comprehensive, Caitlin, and gives us the level of surety that we are at least trying to be on top of the world out there that is very, very challenging in this space. So I'll put the recommendation, and that will read that the communication devices, internet and internet policy be adopted. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This report deals with an obligation council has to report on any code of conduct complaints received about the general manager or councillors for the 12 months from September through the end of August this year. I'm pleased to advise that there were no complaints received, and we can now lodge our return to the Office of Local Government.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any comments? Oh, firstly, somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Bright, seconded Councillor Black. Are there any questions of Gary, please, regarding this report? I'll just make one comment, Gary. As the Mayor, I'm really proud of the fact that this council is respectful and responsible and not to engage in behaviour that draws undue an undue overview of how we go about doing our business, because it is counterproductive and it's expensive, and it behoves all of the people sitting at this table to be mature enough and respectful enough to work with each other. So I'm really pleased that this report is a nil return. If there's no further comment, I'll put the recommendation, and the recommendation will read that one councillor notes that there were no code of conduct complaints made about councillors or the general manager during the period from the 1st of September 2021 to the 31st of August 2022, and 2, these statistics be reported to the Office of Local Government in accordance with the procedures for the administration of the Murrumbidgee Council Code of Conduct for Councillors. That's a mouthful. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6, please, the community transport bus.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This report was originally presented to Council in July this year, and the basis of it is that Council has now transitioned out of the provision of community services funded by the Federal Department of Health. Now, the bus that this report relates to was purchased by Council in 2013 through a federal government grant. It was put on hold until the relevant manager confirmed to Council that the terms of that grant was that if Council chose to transition out, the asset that's provided by the funding had to be transferred to the new service provider. And that has now happened. The manager is confident that that is correct. And the recommendation is that Council now transfer the ownership of the existing community bus to Valmar Support Services.
Okay, would somebody like to move, please? Move Councillor Churban, seconded Councillor Major. Right, are there any questions of Gary regarding this issue? Or any comments?
No, we discussed it in July, so I think everybody was happy with that as well.
Council's happy with how it's been dealt with? At the general consensus?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll put the recommendation, which will read, Council transfer ownership of the existing community transport bus to Valmar Support Services Limited as per the Australian Government Transition Out Plan. Continuity of service delivery. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. we'll move to item 7, which is the minutes of the Murrumbidgee Council Traffic Committee meeting. Would somebody like to speak to this?
Tom?
Yep, it's so obviously on the 29th of November, Council conducted a local traffic committee meeting here in Murrumbidgee Council Chambers. And Council went through a number of businesses regarding speed humps, visitors attraction signs, and the Ned Kelly Trail, which is a visitors attraction sign. So really, they were all carried through with consent. The only one that was changed was the speed hump in Stock Street. The council will revisit that and monitor it in November of 2023.
Okay, somebody like to move these reports? Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Major. Are there any questions of Tom, or are we happy just to have this report as noted?
Could I just ask a discussion about the pedestrian fence in Murrumbidgee Street? Where's that going? Why has that been brought up again?
That was brought up as a general business item, and that'll be reported at the next traffic control meeting on the 9th of March.
Can I ask, it was asked of me as to whether a lighted pedestrian crossing on the corner of Bolton Street and the Mill Highway was ever actually taken to traffic committee for further investigation.
I would have to take that on notice.
If you could investigate that,
Yeah.
please.
You mean the flashing school lights?
School light,
Yeah.
Flashings. So you're talking about a flashing zebra crossing?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any further questions? If not, I'll put. Would somebody like to move that the traffic committee minutes from the meeting held on the 9th of December be noted?
Rob, do you think?
Rob, yeah. Okay, put that. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you. Item number 8, please. Christine, would you like to speak to this?
I was an apology at that meeting, but it was just the usual day-to-day. It's fairly straightforward from what I understood. So they were going to talk to Eden about something, the events management thing. But
okay, well, would you like to move that these?
I'll move that they
be noted.
Be noted.
Okay, would somebody like to second that they be noted? Councillor Major, are there any issues invoices arising from that? If not, I'll put this to the councillors. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Thank you. Well, can we move item 8 and item 9 together?
Yes.
Because of the AGM and the general meeting?
Yep.
Okay. We'll move to item number 10, please. Caitlin.
Item number 10 is the monthly investment report for November 2022. There's not really anything of note to report here. The benchmarks have been met. Everything is in accordance with policy. Runs. Recommending that Councillor Murphy report.
Okay, so we'd like to move Caitlin's report, please. Move Councillor Gilbert, second Councillor Bright. Are there any further questions of Caitlin? If not, the recommendation which reads, Council note the monthly investment report identifying all money Council has invested under Section 625 of the Local Government Act 1993. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Item 11.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This is a report of the Council of the development applications approved since during November. It's presented for Council's information. Any questions?
Okay, somebody like to move, please. Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor Churgwin. Are there any questions of Darren Plain from the floor? It's not, I'll put the recommendation which reads the information contained in the development applications approved under delegation, November 2022, report be noted. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Somebody like to move, that we move into confidential, please. Move Councillor Black, seconded Councillor, oh no, you can't. Move Councillor Gilbert, seconded Councillor Bryce. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you.
Being broadcast on Facebook Live.
We move to item 12, which is the conversion of lease number 1260986. And the report that was put to us by the Chief Financial Officer, the recommendation that was moved by Councillor Gilbert and seconded by Councillor Bryce, that the Council authorise the General Manager to negotiate the conversion of lease number 1260986 at the 1st of July 2019 land value, with legal fees and stamp duty to be paid by the lessee. And 2, that the conversion settlement is to be paid in full. So if there's no further questions, I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Close the business.
Yep.
Okay.